But we will be using this entry into the litany to talk about the recently dropped trailer for The Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, bars.
I actually just watched it, so I have a fresh memory of it. It looks really good. Like, I'm really excited. I have read 0 chapters of this series. It is very long, like 17 books.
Yeah.
I own the first book, so, just like we talked about last week. Another one of those books I have not read, have not opened. I liked the cover. Actually, that's not true. I didn't buy it because of the cover. I bought it because I heard that it was excellent.
Right. It's one of those classic fantasy series.
Yeah, it's like, what I've heard is it goes Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time is the next big series that like took over the mainstream fantasy world, followed by A Song of Ice and Fire. So yeah, the Wheel of Time trailer looks super interesting. I can't really speak on casting because I don't know what the characters are supposed to look like. The actors look good. The only actor I recognized from it was Rosamund Pike. Yeah, and she is excellent. She is a very, very good actress. I don't know what's politically correct these days. I am excited to see it. It comes out soon, November 19th, I think it said. What I do know about the Wheel of Time, it has an excellent magic system, very interesting, gender divided.
Yes.
Which is super intriguing. And the various implications of that world and world building. And what I have heard is that it has some of the strongest world building of all fantasy works. From what I know, the author Robert Jordan, he was like obsessive in explaining the differences of the cultures and giving you a full and colorful world to immerse yourself in. So I'm excited to see it brought to the screen.
As am I. Yeah. I think, I echo all the things you were saying about it. I didn't know the magic system was divided by gender, and I love it because, maybe not so much in fantasy, but in real life history, women are often getting the short end of the stick. So I always think it's cool when a fantasy property, puts that caveat in there as well. Like, sorry, guys, you guys get bows and arrows, but, it reminded me of The Witcher in that way, where we only really see magic being used by women. So that's awesome. The one thing I noticed was like the costuming is very like bright, where I think is like cool because we often don't see that in fantasy adaptations, silver screen or what do they call TV? Is TV the silver screen?
Small screen? I actually don't know. I'm not
TV
sure.
and film. We often get like drab, grim, dark, gothic interpretations of fantasy properties. Even Lord of the Rings to a certain extent chooses when Peter Jackson chooses when things should be bright, which I think is effective. But this I thought was cool that there are like those, it feels more like a MMORPG or like a D&D game or like a video game of some sort where everything's sort of bright and like identifiable. Like an anime, every main character's got their outfit and then everyone else is like in a uniform type of thing. So yeah, I think that's cool. Looks great. I love that scene where the one woman pushes the other off the cliff. We see her later on like floating, like this is some sort of test of the wild type of thing, which I thought was really cool. I think it looks great. I'm always excited for a fantasy project like this. We talked about the set photos. This obviously it's a trailer, so there's a lot more being given. And so I felt that. And I think there's one shot of like the city off in the distance and like that art or animation, whichever.
No, the CGI on the cities looked fantastic. Like the couple close-up shots we got looked really, really good. And I know exactly what shot you're talking about. It's like when they're walking on the mountains, you see like the city with the walls in the distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that looked really sweet. So I love that. And then the dark one or something like with no eyes, just like a creepy mouth.
I think that was an emissary of the dark one. Like the dark one in that world is like a godlike being. From what I'm aware. And speaking about like the clothing choices, like that's what I was talking about with like the world building. What I know about the writing of the Wheel of Time is that it's like there's like paragraphs and paragraphs explaining like the intricacies of an outfit that a character is wearing, and it's like important to the culture of that city or that country.
Right.
So like the fact that there's like that color, there's like I know like people on YouTube were like huge Wheel of Time heads. They're like talking about like that's one of the like things people are reluctant to get into the series about, because it's like it's a little tedious to read like a whole like 5 sentences explaining like the placement of some buttons on a person's like jacket. So but I mean, I'm all about that. So
that's like when like I do it all the time where I'm reading the words but nothing's actually like
registering
through, you know? The lights are on but no one's home, and then I'm like, fuck, I have to reread that. It happens like once or twice and I'm like, fuck, man, I don't care. Just get to the good stuff. But no, this looks great. Will, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really know. I'll be honest, I've never, like, pretty much up until talking to you guys, I just had never heard of the Wheel of Time. I've definitely probably seen like the stacks of books and stuff like that, like in bookstores. Like now that I look at it, but I don't know, like the trailer wasn't really revealing to me anything. Like it wasn't like spoiling anything because I have no idea what it's about.
Right.
It reminded me a lot of like The Witcher, though. Like, I guess like that style of like all the costumes and like visuals and stuff like that. Definitely looks very intense. I found a YouTube video. It's like the Wheel of Time mythology, and it's like 4 hours long or something like that. I might watch that before I go to bed.
Well, my buddy sent me a thing of like comparing how many words are in a series to others, and Wheel of Time is like the number one spot by like a margin of all the others combined, which is just unbelievable. I'll pull it up here, but continue, Will.
Yeah, it's like, and I mean, I also like just like did like a brief like Wikipedia search, and there's like tons of books. Like it's like you take like Forgotten Realms and like Dragonlance and just like put it together times 2, and like that's what you get. So
it's huge, and it was like done by 2 different authors, like
absolute mad lads. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the one you were saying, Luca. Brandon Sanderson finished after the passing of Robert Jordan. Yes. So A Song in Ice and Fire, ballpark, Luca, because I think you've read all those, right?
No, I think Will, you've read those, right?
Yeah, twice.
How many words would you say are in there?
I want to say the first book is definitely the shortest. I'd say 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I don't know, probably close to 1,000 words roughly each. I know the 5th book is like pretty big.
Did you say 1,000? 1,000?
Yeah, something like that.
I think you're thinking of pages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, pages. Sorry. Oh, you mean like word count?
Yeah, word count.
There's probably like 1,000 words in the book. Hey, Patrick, how many words do you think 45. Are in that book? 11.
I don't know. There's probably what, like 50 words or so to a page, depending on the size of the format size of the book, something like that. I don't know.
This is riveting.
I know like roughly 40 to 50 pages, about 10,000 words. Because like I've typed that before, and like I don't know how authors do that because it's fucking insane. But
okay, well, yeah, I thought you might have like an answer off the top of your head. I definitely wouldn't. I don't know why I asked. Anyways,
I'm trying.
So all of A Song in Ice and Fire thus far has 1.7 million words. Following that, the next highest is Harry Potter with 1 million. In 4th place is the Holy Bible with 700,000. War and Peace 500,000. Lord of the Rings around 500,000. War and Peace is more like 6. The Silmarillion has 130,000, and The Hobbit 95. The Wheel of Time has 4.9 million. So it has everything else in the bag.
There is a series that might overshoot it depending on how many books Brandon Sanderson writes in the Stormlight Archive, because those are just massive books, and he's only done 4 of them, and he's planning 10.
I don't know if this will probably get a bad reflection, so I'll post the actual image over the video. But yeah, it's beat everything by a long shot, which I think is cool and great, because I think of like Lord of the Rings and just the cultural longevity of even just the first three movies. Like even if The Hobbit had never come out, in that
There's a Hobbit movie.
where the Oilers are also the 2006 Stanley Cup champions. That alternate future I like to think about sometimes, or at least they were better. I don't know. Even if it didn't come out, Lord of the Rings is still such a touchstone of like what a good fantasy adaptation is. And comparing the word count, I guess, if that's anything to judge by, this has so much room to be like this long cultural thing, the way Game of Thrones was. But obviously now we can look back at Game of Thrones and see where the ball was dropped. And, maybe it was a little bit foolish starting with the series that wasn't fully completed, because as things caught up, it was like, oh, that's not going to happen before we have to end this.
To be fair, they also assumed that the last two books would be written in the multiple years that it took to get to that point.
Yeah.
Ooh. Winds of Winter 2013 release, my guys.
Yeah.
Just hold on. I'm waiting.
Yeah. But I think because this is finished, it'll be like there's a concise, and I think it'll be less like because other people in the internet space will know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
There might be room for the directors and writers to switch things, to subvert expectations or anything like that. So that's cool.
And it'll have a nice broad appeal. Like it's like The Witcher maybe doesn't have as broad an appeal because it's such a specific genre story within like fantasy, whereas like this is the classic hero journey.
Right.
Like it was like Robert Jordan was a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, and like he was like, I want to do this my way. Like,
yeah. So
it's like that same story setup, like the chosen one, Randall Thor, and goes on his quest with his friends from his little village. And it's like just like the classic fantasy setup.
See Will in the background.
Yeah.
No, I think yeah, to your point, that's like I guess maybe people are looking for something like that right now, opposed to diving back into the grimdark world of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
Something we need equivalent.
We need a little bit of escapism that's not so horrifying right now when the real world is like not the greatest.
Yeah, because The Witcher is great escapism, but at some points you're like, man, how much more do you gotta endure? Like all the characters are always it's always something, So yeah, this would be interesting to see something that's not pulling punches, but a little bit more uplifting in that way.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
That will do it for this entry into the litany, and let's dive into
this week will not be Matt's Monster Musings. Instead, maybe Matt's Monster Musings will return at some point, but for now,